What's good, everybody? Thanks for tuning in today. I'm going to be talking a little bit about a few news stories that are comic book related, entertainment news related, things like that. Well, this guy you see right here is Stan Lee. This other guy is Jack Kirby. They created Marvel Comics back in the day. Marvel Comics consist of, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, the Avengers, all those movies you've seen, all that stuff come from them. Even X-Men, Deadpool, Fantastic Four, all that started with these two gentlemen back in the studio. Now, other people contributed along the way, but primarily it was them two. Now, Stan Lee is 95 years old, and a couple of his ex-nurses accused him of sexual harassment, and it's just been really going on in the media, like a lot of stories about it, and I just wanted to give my opinion on what happened in the charges. Well, these two nurses were first accused of and charged with stealing $1.3 million from Stan Lee through bad checks. They had bought condos, houses, and a couple cars with the $1.3 million. And after being charged with theft and I forgot the other charges they were charged with, they came with the old sexual harassment claim saying that he propositioned them for sex. Now, Stan Lee is 95 years old. He's bedridden. His wife passed away last year. And my opinion is that this is just pure pathetic lies, pretty much trying to get themselves out of charges. And they're jumping on the whole Me Too movement and that whole feminist agenda, and they're trying to really use that as a cover to get their ass out of jail time, really. Because when you get caught stealing $1.3 million, I'm pretty sure you'll say anything to avoid going to jail. And I think that's what's happening here. Now, I think that the people who should be speaking up the most is people who were really sexually harassed or sexually assaulted, because if they're using, what you've been through as cover to get themselves out of jail time for stealing $1.3 million, then I think that's almost bringing shame and embarrassment to what you're actually doing to fight, sexually harassment and sexual assault. And for all the victims who really have been through a lot, I think this really should be your time to stand up, get in the comment section or get on social media and tell these women, hey, if you stole $1.3 million, you need to go to jail, face your charges. And if not guilty, prove yourself not guilty. But don't just stand up and use the Me Too movement as cover, and try to use the whole feminist agenda as cover for something that you really did to benefit yourself. But that's just my thoughts on that. I mean, could it be possible that he said, hey, I'm 95 years old? I mean, it's not like Stan Lee is getting up and going to the clubs and driving himself, to the club. So I would imagine the women in his vicinity are his nurses. And could he have flirted with them? Possibly. Could he have said, I need some sex or I need some loving, whatever? Possibly. But is that any reason for you to steal $1.3 million from him? I don't know. It might be a fair exchange. It might be the fact that he said, yeah, they probably been having sex for years. And if so, and they took it a little too far, stealing $1.3 million when maybe he just meant to give them 50,000 or something like that, then the truth need to come out and drop the charges. And, hey, a fair exchange is a fair exchange. If he did give them that money for sexual favors, to me, that's a fair exchange. If they did go too far, stealing 1.3 when he didn't authorize that much, then, hey, the proper charges should be filed. But that's just my thoughts. All right, next story that's in the news is about the movie All the Money in the World. This was that Kevin Spacey movie that they had to go back and do reshoots over because of, I guess, the sexual allegations towards him. Now, when they went back and did reshoots, it was some sort of controversy about a pay gap that happened between the co-stars Mark Wahlberg and Michelle Williams. Well, it was said that Mark Wahlberg was paid $1 million, while Michelle Williams was paid only just above $1,000. Now, what they didn't state in this story was the contract agreement that Mark Wahlberg had with the studio and Michelle Williams had with the studio. Now, I'm going to just basically break down and show you how somebody can put out a bullshit news story talking about a pay gap when it's completely not true. Let's say both Mark Wahlberg and Michelle Williams had a 5-picture deal with the studio. Now, Michelle Williams' contract could be front-loaded. What that means is she get a majority of her $20 million up front. Now, let's say Mark Wahlberg contract is backloaded, where he get a majority of his money from his contract at the end of his five picture deal. So, in fact, both of them have the same contract, five pictures for $20 million. Only Michelle Williams is going to get the majority of her money at the beginning of her contract, maybe in the first two or three movies, and Mark Wahlberg will get the majority of his $20 million in the last two or three movies of his deal. There is no pay gap. So then, when the pay gap thing was debunked, now they start calling Ridley Scott, the director of the movie, sexist because of the pay gap. First of all, the director doesn't control what the actors and actresses get paid. Second of all, this is the same guy that directed Alien and Prometheus with female leads in sci-fi action movies. Actually, Alien was one of the first movies to ever have a female lead, and Sigourney Weaver playing the lead in an action movie, action sci-fi movie. So when they start talking about Ridley Scott being sexist, to me that's just, you start overusing it at that point. You start overusing a term, and now everybody's sexist, everybody's guilty of sexual assault, and you start giving the term less meaning. So I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to explain to you how you actually get your point across in a better way. You can say, hey, I disagree with what's going on right now without calling a guy sexist. That's what I'm just trying to get the point across. So I don't believe it's any sexism in this movie. I don't, with far as like a pay gap, and I don't believe that there's a pay gap. I think that people look at snippets and headlines without knowing the structural details of individuals' contracts. Mark Wahlberg, I don't know what his contract is. I don't know what her contract is. But that doesn't necessarily mean you get on the news media and attack them and start calling people sexist and start calling the studio out for a pay gap that you don't know exists in the first place. All right. The next story that's in the media is this James Franco text message story. Now, James Franco just won a Golden Globe for his work in Disaster Artist, and he was being accused of sexual harassment through text message. I'm not even bullshitting with you. So allegedly, he was sending text messages to a co-star of his in a conversation they had. From what I seen in the messages, it looked like he was responding and they were responding back. So I don't know if this was a sort of relationship they had where it was cool to text each other, or because it doesn't look like the conversation goes one way. But this is exactly what I was talking about in the other video I did, talking about this whole Me Too and feminist movement going on right now, is that you can be accused of sexual harassment over anything. It's not really what you say, it's what you, or what you do, is how the person perceives it. Now, in these text messages, you don't see any threats, any naked pictures, any dick pics, anything like that. He just pretty much says, "Are you single? Can we get a room?" Kind of the things you pretty much say every day, to meet a woman, go out on dates. And I think it's about the whole continuity of the freaking species. You know what I mean? That's how we procreate. How do you meet somebody and go out if you don't ask them, "Are you single?" Like, but obviously they say he is a sexual harasser because of these text messages, and his Golden Globe should be stripped. Just think about that. Text messages, not threats, no lewd pictures, but he's a sexual harasser and he should lose his career, and his reputation is being tattered right now. Just look on social media and type in James Franco or Google it right now and see what happens. And that's just the whole Me Too feminist movement right now is getting out of control. I mean, just look at the news right now. Any given day, I'm pretty sure you wake up, you go on Facebook, you go on Twitter, and you like, who's next? It's not Me Too, it's who's next. In my mind, they worse than Goldberg. But yeah, I just think this is some bullshit where you can be accused of being a sexual harasser over text messages nowadays. Damn. All right, we're going to end this on a positive note with some Black Panther movie news. This movie comes out February 16th, and it's already broke the record for any MCU movie with pre-sale tickets. This movie, I don't know how much that means in millions of dollars, but yeah, whatever the record is for pre-sale tickets, this movie done broke that record. I think this is going to be one of the coolest movies we've done seen from the MCU or any comic book movie. It's already in my top 5, and I ain't even seen a damn movie yet. But this movie, I think, is going to have a direct tie-in to Avengers Infinity War. Maybe get a couple end-credit scenes, that has to do with Thanos or hopefully something like that. And as far as the SJW stuff and all that, with people saying, oh, it's all about Black Panther, it's black people, and well, of course, the damn movie take place in Africa. The guy is called Black Panther. What do you expect? So no, it's not no damn SJW because it's a black movie. It's not a SJW or feminist issue because the movie is called Wonder Woman. When you get titles like that, you kind of get what you expect. Now, if they had an Asian dude running around in Africa in a Black Panther costume, I think everybody would stand up and say, "Hey, what the fuck going on?" So no, it's no SJW with this at all, and I don't think nobody really actually thinks that. I think it's just a couple idiots trying to get some clickbait on the internet and social media. And I think that by this pre-sale tickets breaking records, all the fans pretty much see through all that noise. But yeah, February 16th, this movie comes out. I can't wait to see it. And obviously, I ain't the only one. But those are my thoughts on the movie stories of the day. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Any likes or subscribes is much appreciated. I don't get paid for this channel. I do this out of my love for movies and to talk about, the news and stories like that. But yeah, I'm your boy Dreads, and I will catch you out there in the universe.